happen.
Awesome. Yeah, well, Angel, I'm going to let you just jump right in then.
Sounds good. I want to thank everyone for coming to this presentation today about AI, about education, and about how can we really use it in a positive way. Because there's a lot of there's a lot of worry out there, and I completely understand that, and it's something that I'm dealing as a dean. Of course, I hear a lot about it because I need to help my faculty tackle this issue. So we are trying our best to do things that will allow the faculty to use it in a positive way without the really bad sides of it all. And I wanted to present to you some of those ideas today to really bring you into the loop on what are some things you can actively do right now that will really help in the classroom, or at least help frame it from a perspective of positive use and good use of all these resources. We have two sides to the coin. Of course, there's folks that don't think it should be used, folks that think that yes, let's not use it. But we also have to take the perspective of the students who are going through an education to potentially end up in jobs later on. And they have a worry themselves that they're going to be left behind if they're not taught these things, right? Because they are worried that people that have the experience using these systems will have preferential treatment when they get jobs, when they go for jobs, compared to people that have basically were not taught by instructors, were not allowed to use it, were not taught the good things about it, the efficient and all that. So we are trying to I'm trying to frame it from that perspective so that we can really embed it into courses in a learning way rather than just to use it to not create content without having to do the work and all that. There's a lot more work to be done, of course, especially in this world. The AI advances are happening very quickly and the systems are changing with every version. And so it's starting to get into that little area where it's hard to catch up. It's been a little bit tough to catch up. But we're doing our best, and we hope that we'll be able to give the faculty over the course of the next year or even more, even longer than that, something that can be used for positive things and for really instruction, which is the most important thing that students need. Supported instruction. There's more news coming for trainings and all that. Stay tuned to BICT and to the communications from BACCC and the colleges, because there's going to be lots of support starting this year, especially. I know, and I don't want to say too much because a lot of those things are in planning stages, but there's going to be plenty of trainings and opportunities to learn more and to tackle the bad side too, the plagiarism and all that, but also more things about how to use it in a positive way. So I have a quick presentation to show you some ways that we can implement these systems into our daily work. I wanted to start first though by sharing with you where this work came from, part of where this work came from. And I put the link in the chat a little bit ago. This is the AIDA AIDA website for, this is an RJV, a regional joint venture, thanks to the funding from Strong Workforce that we did, that I did together with faculty at Laney College when I was the Dean of Math Sciences and Engineering there. Now, still not a year ago, but getting close to that. But yeah, so we decided to put together an associate's degree in artificial intelligence to teach artificial intelligence for workforce. Or basically, how can we train professionals to start implementing the systems that are out there? All these, GPT and so on that already exist. How can they start implementing it into apps, into programs, into tech? And so sort of like a CIT degree where students go out there and get jobs programming and all that, we want to teach them the AI side of that as well with existing tools that they can use to implement it into their daily work at that point. We're not teaching them the high-level minded stuff. We're not teaching them to create their own AI. That requires lots of education and lots of work. So we're not in the community college, we're not trying to do that, but we were focused on doing it so that they would really learn about how to implement it in a workforce perspective. Our goal also is to disseminate this information and make it easier for others to do it as well. And so on this website, which I put the link in the chat, and we can put it again. And I'm going to ask Sarah if you can monitor the chat in case there's any questions, because I'm not going to be able to pay attention to it too closely. But let me know if there's any questions and I can answer them.
Absolutely. And then I did just drop that link back in the chat at the top for those of you who came in later.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see here, we have the description of where the jobs that are out there that the students could obtain after this. We have our partnerships in here. We also have the courses, so the descriptions for the courses, and we're planning to publish also the course outlines of record, which are already public, so that you can really get an idea of how to do it. But you can see here also the entire program structure of what we're trying to do. So I'll let you do that later on, look at it in detail to see what is being offered. We're trying to adopt it. We're working towards adopting it, a similar version here at Evergreen Valley College. So we're already going through, the curriculum process, and we're very excited to see what happens. Because every time, by the way, I've done this once before Laney College, and every time I bring it to a faculty and we put together a program, it's different. It's evolved, right? Because the technology evolves so quickly that we have a slightly different flavor every time to make it more current at that point. But lots of really great information that we post here, thanks to our partner, Lauren Tabata, of course, and the rest of the AIDA team. That is, I can't, I'm so excited and I'm so happy for them, and they're a great team to work with. So I am a very lucky person to be able to do that. Okay, I'm going to share my presentation now. Let's start discussing this. Let me see what it is you can see. Okay, switch this displays. Okay, there we go. So again, thank you so much for joining. As Sarah mentioned, my name is Ángel Fuentes. I am the Dean of Business and Workforce Development at Evergreen Valley College. And today I'm talking to you about ways to use AI in classroom, not just all different kinds of generative AI, but also other AI tools that can really make your life a lot better, not only for teaching, but also for the students. Because there's a side to it where the students can even get tutoring, some sort of form of tutoring, actually 2 forms of tutoring with the one that I'm going to show you today. I'm going to concentrate mostly on ChatGPT because I just picked one. But these things that I'm going to show you today can be done in the other systems that I'm going to talk about as well. So I'm going to do a quick introduction about what this is. I want to have a good amount of Q&A, but I'm going to do a quick introduction about what these generative AI models are, in case you don't know that. But just so you know, I myself, I'm not an expert in AI, as I don't have a graduate degree in computer science either. As Sarah mentioned, I am an astronomer by education. So my world is slightly different than this AI thing. I didn't go to that, but I'll explain how I ended up knowing about this and starting all these programs. So quick agenda of what we're going to discuss. We'll talk about what the different models are, AI models and large language models. We'll then talk about some applications to education, very general, but then we'll see some examples that I'll play for you here that I'll do actively for you to see. And then I'm going to show you some things where AI just does not work, where it really goes wrong and it gives you bad answers or wrong answers, or things like that. I'm going to show you the incorrect side of it all, a little bit of it. And then we can have a Q&A and go a little deeper. And I have more examples that I'm going to show you today. So if we have time, I can also bring up some other ones that might be useful. So this is a very old picture of myself. It is not AI generated. It's just old. I should update this. This is about 12 years old by now. I'm the Dean of Business and Workforce Development here at Evergreen Valley College. I was previously seen as the Dean of Math Sciences and Engineering at Laney College in Oakland, California, where I still live and drive out down here to San Jose. So it's a fun drive every day. I developed the first as Associate Dean of Workforce Development at Chandler Gilbert Community College in the Maricopa system in Arizona. I developed the first associate's degree in artificial intelligence in the United States back in the late 2010s, together with Intel Corp. Intel Corporation had this curriculum they called the Singapore curriculum, which is something that they had partnered with high schools in Singapore to offer to students. And they brought it to us and they wanted to make it higher education ready. They wanted us to up the rigor, up everything, and start teaching it for college level. And we loved it. We thought it was an amazing idea, of course, and we just ran with it at that point. And that's how we ended up launching the first one ever with a lot of excitement. We were getting ready, January 2020. We are excited. This is launching this summer. And then something really big happened and it killed all our plans, of course. But we continued to move forward, and we launched it online at that point because there was nothing else we could do for fall 2020. And so we launched it online about a week before Houston Community College launched theirs. So when I say we were the first ones, we're the first ones by a week, which I bring up to them every time, every time I see them as a joke. I see them in meetings and conferences, and it's a fun thing to do. But they beat us in the Chandler Gilbert Community College system and the Maricopa Community College system. They beat them now. I don't work there anymore. They beat them to the bachelor's degree in AI, which they launched already, though the Maricopa system is working on one right now as well. But there's now another bachelor's degree in AI in the nation at a community college, and that is the Miami-Dade community college system. So students have opportunities to even now get a bachelor's degree in AI if they transfer to those institutions, which it's great because it's affordable and more affordable than the universities and so on. We all know all those really great things that we do at the community colleges. And then, as I said before, I'm an astronomer, so I'm still an astronomy faculty member. If anyone here from Ohlone College, I teach a single class in the evenings, astronomy class, and it's how I keep young. This face you see on the screen is how I keep like that because I love being in the classroom with young people, so it's really great. I hold various certificates from Amazon Web Services Machine Learning University, or Machine Learning. I'm also an advisory board member at AWS's Machine Learning University. But again, I'm an astronomer. I'm an advisory board member at Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, where Pluto was discovered. And I'm telling you this because I'm going to show you, actually, before I do that, let me hit record on this myself for a second. I wanted to show you, not recording. Oh, it's not gonna work. Oh, well. Should have tried it beforehand. I think my microphone here is a little bit it doesn't know where it needs to go, but it's okay. I'll show you this later on, what Otter AI is, in case you didn't know. The goal of me showing you this really was to show you how there are systems out there that can help us even take notes. And, I'm horrible at taking notes myself at meetings because I'm running the meeting. And if I'm alone, my assistant is not there, it just gets really terrible. So I was going to show you something really cool that Otter AI does. It's just like a note taker. It's similar to a second one called Fathom that does the same thing. I like Otter AI because you can see it actively fix words. I have an accent. I grew up in Puerto Rico, as I wrote here, and this is why I wrote this here, to show you how it corrects itself. But usually when I start this and say I'm from Naranjito in Puerto Rico, it just doesn't know what I'm saying. It writes like gibberish, and then you see it a few seconds later, it starts changing the words. And it figures it out, and then eventually, within 2 minutes, it says correctly spelled the place that I'm from. So it's really incredible. I love it. I showed it to the staff here at Evergreen Valley College during our Flex Day, our professional development day, and I mentioned the name of a faculty member, Celso Batia, and it just didn't get it. It didn't understand what I said, and it took like 10 seconds. And it spelled Celso. It's exactly right after a few seconds. So it's a really great tool. And then you can ask it questions. What was discussed in the meeting? What are the action items? Was my name mentioned? All that. You can ask it, and it tells you all those things and answers those questions, which is really great. It also takes notes and summarizes the entire meeting. So it's really cool in that sense. And that got canceled, the astronomy event, so I'm not going to show you that, but astronomy is my passion, so I always like to show that and showcase those events. So let's really quickly do a quick introduction explaining what what these AI systems are and large language models. Of course, Gen AI, generative AI, it does something where it tries to learn by itself in various ways. It uses models like GANs, also known as generative adversarial networks, but also it uses RNNs, recurrent neural networks, to sort of get better, to start understanding what it's doing and how to better answer questions through a whole lot of probability, really. It's a whole lot of statistics. And it tries to figure out what's the more correct answer, what's been the correct answer for so many times before. And it of course, if you ask it the same question again and it's told you, many people know that that's the correct answer, or the data that is being built on says that that's the correct answer, then it will choose that as an answer. But as we know, statistics is not, 80% of statistics are made up. Set it's a joke that I have. 80% of statistics are made of. It's a research study that I saw. So statistics are not always correct, right? There's always that extra chance that something else could be true, and sometimes that happens, and sometimes that occurs. And so it's not always correct. It's not 100% correct. So we have to be careful. That's where us as humans need to come in and provide our own input and decide if this is true or not by doing other research. It's of course trained on extensive amounts of data from the internet mostly, which has caused problems now because ChatGPT, OpenAI is being sued by a company, I forget which one it is, because it basically lifted a bunch of documents from them to learn specific amounts of data, and now that company's suing them for basically copyright infringement and a whole lot of this stuff. So it's got some problems, of course. GPT-4 itself has an extra amount of 570 gigabytes of data. Every time they release a new version, it has more current data. And I believe that GPT-4 is current as of early 2023. So soon enough, you'll see the next version, which is more current. But other systems out there, like Microsoft's Copilot and Google's Gemini, they are connected to the internet. So they're actively learning, and they're more current in that sense. By the way, GANs and RNNs, the GANs, the generative adversarial networks, adversarial being the keyword here. Imagine you have two systems, one called a generator and the other one called a discriminator. And they basically compete against each other to see who's more correct, and that's how they learn. To see what answer is more correct at the end compared to the two answers that they come up with. And then it inputs back into the system what's more correct. Same thing for RNNs, recurrent neural networks, but in this case, the operating word here being recurrent, it brings back the same question over and over again to learn itself what's more correct. This is a little longer, but this is really good for things like speech recognition. Things like the Siri in your phones, in your iPhones, let's say. If you allow it to send the data back to Apple to learn more, it will use your own voice over and over and over again to learn how you speak. I should have allowed that when I started, got my Siri, and I just declined it. I didn't want it to, save my voice, and now it doesn't understand what I say half the time. But other systems will learn slowly what you're saying as you go by, as you basically teach it yourself by speaking to it, and it understands that better. And so it can learn as it goes from different people, right? And when it learns from me, it might not understand another person because they have a different accent than I do, and so on. Now, large language models, which are something that we're going to discuss in detail today, just really generate human-like text. And that is what we're seeing a lot of, ChatGPT and so on. Most of ChatGPT, there's other parts of it. But you can also speak or chat with it normally. You can also create new content. Think about it like a chat bot. You talk to it like it's a person. And if you don't like the answer it's giving you, go back to it and say, hey, I don't like this. Can you change this sentence? Can you give me 10 more? You're just talking to it like it's a person, and then it'll respond to you. It can, of course, create art, text. It can translate for you. I'm taking German at the ANSA. Sometimes I go in, hey, does this make sense grammatically? If I have a question about a sentence that I put together, does this make sense? And it tells me, yeah, this is correct. Or, hey, consider changing the tense of the verb, or whatever it is. You're missing an article, or the article is wrong, or the case is wrong, whatever it is, it can help you with that. So it can enhance teaching and learning through interactive content creation, but also facilitates feedback, personalized feedback by you telling it what's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't work, and then continuing that way. Not going to talk about all of these, not going to show them all. These are just some examples as well. This is not a comprehensive list of systems that are out there. These are just some of the ones that I have used regularly. We of course have ChatGPT by OpenAI and DALL-E by OpenAI. ChatGPT, they've been combined now into GPT-4. They used to be more separate, where you could log into DALL-E separate from logging into ChatGPT. Now DALL-E is basically embedded into GPT-4, which I do not pay for myself. And so I still use GPT 3.5, which is free. For what I use it is good enough. So I'm happy with it. But DALL-E is also by OpenAI, and DALL-E, what it does is that it creates images. It's an image generator, and it's getting better. It wasn't that great in the beginning, but it's actually getting much better. And now that it's embedded into ChatGPT 4, you can ask it, generate this image, create whatever image, and it will create that image for you. If you're like me, and by that I mean terrible at art, terrible, like get anxiety about having to draw things, this is great. When I go to my class at Olone and I have to show them a diagram of something on the screen and I have to draw it myself, hey, I don't have to anymore. I can just ask one of these systems, can you make me a diagram of this thing, showing these things all in one image? And it does so. But DALL-E also does something really cool, which is you can input an image into it and you can ask it to fill the outsides of the image to generate what the rest of the area looks like, let's say. So I've done something where I show here at work at EVC, my faculty, I inputted an image from the sky of the college. And then I said, okay, fill in all these areas, like the neighborhoods around the college. And of course, it doesn't know what's there, but it created an image, like it filled in based on what the image of the college looked like. So there was other college buildings and parking lots, and it looked really good. It's not true, but it looked really, really good. And so it's another little thing you can do with it, and you can use it for. There's also now Microsoft Copilot. It used to be Bing Chat. They've rebranded it into something called Copilot, and now it's embedded into Windows 11. If you have Windows 11, you look at the bottom. If it's updated, look at the bottom of your taskbar. You'll see there the Copilot symbol. And it's now basically in your computer right from the start. But you can also just go to Copilot, to Bing, to bing.com and use Copilot the same way you do ChatGPT, the exact same way. There's also Google's Gemini, which is their new version. Before it used to be called Bard. Gemini is more advanced. Bard was a little bit wonky from time to time. Wonky being a technical term that I'm using here. But it used to be, a little bit not that great compared to the other ones. But now they've done a pretty good job. They have a really good system that, again, it works exactly the same way as GPT. The good thing about Gemini is that it's free, that you can start entering things. ChatGPT 4 will cost you money. Gemini does not, and you can do things that ChatGPT does, but that you have to pay for. Another one I really like is ChatPDF. ChatPDF is just a website where you upload documents, PDF documents, and then you ask it questions. Right now, my faculty need answers really quickly, let's say, and they need, there's a grant document that is 20 pages long, and they need a single piece of information from those 20 pages, and I would have to start reading the whole thing. Or like the faculty contract, when there's questions about it. I just upload the PDF to ChatPDF, and then I ask it questions. What does it say about this? And it tells me what it says about those specific topics. And that way, and I can ask it, where is that? What page? And then I can go to that page and confirm that it does say that. First of all, that's something that I like to do, because what if it's making it up? So go to that page. Yes, it does say that. And that way I don't have to look through the entire document every single time to find specific pieces of information. So that's another thing that can be used for. You can use it yourself, big, giant documents. You can really summarize them. You can ask them to summarize it. Or you can ask it to just give you an answer to a specific question. And that, in that sense, it's really good. Of course, don't use it yourself for legal advice, let's say. Always confirm it yourself and make sure that you make your own interpretation of what it's showing you, so that there's no trouble for you later on. And then the two note takers that I really have heard about a lot and are Otter AI, like I mentioned before, and also Fathom, which is used by many of my colleagues as well. But Otter AI is really cool because it gives you a transcript of everything that is being said. If you embed it into, if your college, your account allows you to embed it into Zoom, it also will know who said what, because of this, we have names on Zoom, so it knows who's saying what. That said, Zuba has his own note taker now as well. So if your system, your district, or your account managers have allowed it, have activated it, you can also use that and it'll do a very similar job. Okay, those are the systems that I'm most familiar with, that I've used more regularly. There's of course other ones like Jocks, and there's many other ones that can be used, and you can try them out there, but they basically all work the same way. Any questions so far before I give you some examples? I think we're good, Sarah. Let me know. I'm gonna move on.
Oh, it looks like Eric might have had a question.
Oh, hello. Yeah. Let's see. I just while you were speaking, I just went and just got the URLs for that phantom.video, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I'll drop that into the chat here.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So I'm gonna show you. Actually, I'm not gonna show you DALL-E because now it's embedded into GPT, and I don't want to pay for it. But I'll show you a similar version of it in the Gemini system. Chat PDF, I can show it to you today. Otter AI, I displayed it a little bit right there, but my microphone is not being connected, so I'm having a little issue with that. But Otter AI and Fathom do similar things. So try them on your own, see how they work for yourself if you want to. But they're really cool. They've helped me a lot in my daily job. So here's some actual applications we can use it for in classrooms, and students can use them, or even faculty members can assign this or tell the students how to use it. First thing you can use it for is just research assistance. Right? A lot of students don't know what they're gonna. They have to, do a research paper in your class, and they just don't know what to do. They don't even have an idea of what to start with. It can give them many ideas, starting points for them to then just run with them at that point. It can suggest research keywords as well, or even suggest where to go and what to do and so on. It can also be, of course, this is a little more controversial, let's say, it can also be used for writing support. So, and by that, I don't mean write it for me. I mean brainstorming ideas about what to write about, or maybe creating an outline for an essay, or creating an outline for a presentation, which is exactly what it did for me for this presentation. It told me, yeah, discuss this, and this. And I was like, oh, perfect topics. There was one that I didn't care for, so I took it out. But the other ones, I was like, yeah, I can talk about all these systems. Start by discussing the different systems. Oh, perfect idea. Then go on to discuss applications in education. I'll do that. And so on. And then I created my slides based on that. And it can also give you feedback, especially for speakers of other languages. It really helps them to create a write-up that makes more sense, and it helps me learn more. I'm learning a language, as I said a little bit ago, and it helps me correct myself, and those mistakes I don't make the next time. And so I'm learning how to write better in German thanks to that. It can also help you with language learning, as I just mentioned. It can help you with practicing vocabulary, but also with explaining grammatical rules and all that, especially if you're learning on your own. It's sometimes you want to know why that happens so that you can apply the same rule again later on. And if you don't have access to someone that can explain it to you, these systems can do that for you as well. And then it can also, of course, translate. Your Duolingo, let's say you're learning a language on Duolingo, it's actively using artificial intelligence to decide what are the things you need more help with. And it'll ask you more questions about those things because you need more practice on those things. And it knows thanks to all that, all those computations it's doing. We can also use it for computer language learning as well, in computer science, of course, and in programming classes. they can just seek assistance. Students can get assistance on just problems they just don't know the solutions for, or even, you can give them a code written by ChatGPT, let's say, and ask the students to rewrite it the way that a human would. Because the reality is, code that comes out of ChatGPT is very, very structured kind of strangely. And so people can, we don't write code like that. And so people, students can modify it and change the code to be more human, the way that you and I would write it. And this is something that it can do. ChatGPT cannot just give them the answer because it'll just write it the same way. And so it's stuck at that point, and they'll have to do it themselves. But it helps them think about how programming languages are written, how programs are written. It helps them just start to get down that path of, this is the structure I should follow. But even I used it to create, my assistant is working from home on Fridays, and I bought an iPad on a stand, and I asked ChatGPT to give me an iPad program that with a single button that people touch, and it calls my assistant on Microsoft Teams. And it's like she's here. If I'm not available, my door's closed, I'm in a meeting, they can just go there, they can talk to my assistant, although she's not here. And then my assistant can answer the question live, or can set up a meeting, can do any of those things. And so I'm not a Swift code programmer. I don't know, I've never learned it, but it helped me put something together, something very simple that worked really well from the start. So I haven't implemented it yet, but I'm planning to do it very soon, so that it can help, right? I'm not a programmer, so this really helped me do something without having to spend thousands of dollars of money getting this program built for me. And then I'm going to show you one way in which it can be used for tutoring support for students to practice a topic and get questioned on that topic and learn more as they go. It can be used for historical or literary analysis. So basically, assist students in learning about historical events or literary work. One thing about this as well, especially in social sciences courses, all these systems are, of course, under regulations and policy, and they don't like taking a side on controversial topics. And a lot of what's discussed in those courses is considered controversial in many ways by people. And so one thing that ethnic studies and social sciences instructors can do from the start is just give them those topics. If they need to write a paper, give them those topics and ask them to take a side on something. And then the system will just tell the students, I don't want to take a side on this. This is not something that not in my programming, and so on. And it won't do it. So a lot of social sciences folks have had a successful conversion, let's call it, to this modern world with ChatGPT, let's say, thanks to the fact that they can structure their assignments that way. And then the students just have to basically write it themselves. They can still get help, of course. What's the definition of this? What happened during this historical event? What, all that. They can still ask it those things, but that's just research, like we do on the internet. That's just really looking up information so that you can write a better paper. I don't have enough time today to show you, but maybe in the future I can show you how to do automated grading and test creation. Test creation is easy. Ask it to put together questions for you, and it gives you a bunch of questions. And done. You have many questions that you can use for a test and so on. It can also help you in STEM courses, and I crossed out math for a reason. I'll show you later on today. So it can help students learn more about science, technology, engineering. Math is a little tricky, and I'll show you why. But it can also help students understand solutions to complex problems. One thing that I really hope to see more often, though, is used for career guidance. Students, for labor market analysis, for knowing how many jobs are out there in this field. I want to be an astronomer. What kind of jobs can I get out there? Not very many. But it can tell them that, like, these are the possibilities that you have if you become an astronomer. So the students themselves can just do their own little research about what they want to do. Of course, this is not to supplant our career counselors and so on, but it can give a student an idea of what to do. Okay, let's put it to practice. I'm just going to use ChatGPT. Actually, I'm going to show you Gemini really quickly and show you how it works. This is what Gemini looks like. It's very similar to what ChatGPT looks like. And you can ask it questions like, create an image of a dog dog. 2 astronaut suit, flying through space while smiling. This is, of course, going to take a few seconds for it to create this, but it's going to put something together that looks really cool that I would have never been able to do by on my own. But it'll create actually a series of images of little ducks in spacesuits, smiling, flying through space. Okay, I kind of like this one a lot. I'm going to save it. There. That's a good doggy. It's missing an ear, but it's a good doggy. But you can tell it, I don't know, you know what? I do not like those. Give me 4 more. Make one a beagle. So I'm just talking to it like it's a person. I'm not hiding anything, right? I hope these are more to your liking. And so it's going to create other ones. Oh, no. It didn't understand what I said. There you go. This is where it goes wrong. It's one of the examples of, hey, what happens when it goes wrong? This is what happens. It just can't figure it out. But you can always just go back, right? And put one here. Let's see if it works this time. Maybe it doesn't understand what I mean by beagle. Give it a few seconds. Oh, there we go. And I do have a beagle now. Actually, a couple of beagles. So, yeah, 4 of them. So there, it did it. Yeah, 4 beagles. It did it. Good job. Another thing we can use it for, I'll move a little bit faster now, and I can provide this for you later on if needed. Another thing that we can do is things like, hey, give me 5 fun ways to introduce a lesson on the properties of white dwarfs, neutron stars, and black holes. Again, I'm an astronomer. A lot of the examples that are going to be about astronomy. But hey, it gives me ideas of how to do this. You know, I'm tired of doing it the same way after 20 years of teaching. So I can do this and now try something new. Of course, don't try everything at once. What I'm going to show you today, don't try it all at once because then nothing comes out right. Just, you know, start mastering like we always do. Master one thing at a time and then you can move forward. More complex topics, create a lesson plan about the water cycle suitable for first-year college students. And it gives you an entire structure of a lesson plan with objectives, the materials you need, how long it's going to take, step by step, basically what's going to happen throughout the class. If there's any applications, any activities, it tells you that. And then it even gives you ideas for homework at that point of what to do. And this really works for any topic. Another really good one is to ask it to, you know, tutor me. I want you to ask me questions to test my understanding of the, now let's change it. Second law thermodynamics of Kepler's laws. Oh my God, I can type today. Planetary motion. It's going to give me one question at a time, and then I can answer it, right? Which astronomer formulated Kepler's laws of planetary motion? Okay, that question is really easy because it's in the question. So I'm going to say C, Johannes Kepler. Oh, I'm right. Yay. But it gets more complicated after, slowly more complicated, right? Which Kepler's law states that the planets move in elliptical orbits around the sun, and the sun on one focus. So let's say A. Okay, that's correct. I learned my grad school. Kepler's second law states that the, okay, I'm just going to pick something. B. See, and it tells me, no, actually, the actual answer is blah. And then, you know, when you're done learning, you're done practicing, you can just tell it to stop, and then it stops. So it's a good way to just get random questions. The students can just practice and practice and practice if they're really worried about their exam. By the way, this is one way to do this, but if you pay for ChatGPT 4, which it's up here, you can change it to GPT-4 and upgrade, but you have to pay for it. It includes DALL-E, which is their image generator, but it also includes something called Khanmigo. It's a partnership between OpenAI and Khan Academy, and it is a tutoring system. And the students can get further help that way with a partnership with AI, with a partnership between Khan Academy and OpenAI. More to our daily jobs, daily work. Hey, I want SLOs. I want ideas for SLOs. Give me 10 SLOs for student learning outcomes for Into the Solar System Astronomy class. And it gives you 10 options. And you can ask it for more if you want. You can take these, you can modify them. You can ask it, hey, can you combine 3 and 4? Can you combine 3 and 4? And it will do so. It'll combine 3 and 4. One thing you can do as well, let's say you want to analyze or assess your SLOs, assess your PLOs, you can input data into it and then ask it to, hey, do you see any trends here? Do you see any relations? And if you don't see anything, it might pick up something that you can use then to write about in your assessment of your SLOs and PLOs, or even assessment of data in general. One thing you should be careful with, though, and I should say this about Chat PDF as well, don't put anything or any sensitive documents in there, right? If it's confidential, if it's got student information, don't enter it to any of these systems. So what I enter into Chat PDF is like a contract that I have with a company. And this already went to the board. It's already public. So why not? It's no different at that point. Or like the contract, the faculty contract. That one's an easy one as well because it's already public. So you can put it there. But I would never put student data, as in with their names, with their grades and all that. That is crossing that FERPA line. So just be careful with that part. But definitely data that can be shared, that is public, why not? It can really help you understand it or get better insight into it. One thing that I like to do about it is, right, I'm an astronomer. When I discuss astronomy topics, I know them. I know them backwards and forwards. So how can I find what's difficult for students to understand? I know that, if they fail in the test, that topic, that's a good indication. But can I proactively know where I have to do a better job? So ask it to tell you what are difficult topics to understand in a specific area for students at a college, at a university. And it gives you ideas about what are the things the students really have a hard time understanding. And then you can tackle those. How can I better explain number 3? And so it goes into detail about that specific one and tells me many ideas about how to explain these to students to get a better understanding. Of course, always read them and give your own perspective to it. No, this doesn't work. I've tried this, it doesn't work. Or, hey, I've never thought about this. This might work, and give it a try and see what happens.
Angel, can I jump in with a question?
Go for it.
It's from Marla. So Khan Academy gets paid via subscriptions to ChatGPT 4. She's been writing exams with some help from AI. When a student writes an essay or a screenplay, for example, using ChatGPT beyond an outline, how can I know that it's not all written with AI?
That's a hard one to answer right now, especially because these systems that try to detect AI writing are not perfect. They're not great. They're getting better, but there's not a lot of data yet in them out there. And so it's getting harder and harder to do. There are some patterns, though, and that's something that you can recognize. I recognize emails that are written with ChatGPT. I can recognize them by now because the structure is always the same. It starts with the same greeting usually. It repeats the same problem over and over again in multiple paragraphs, and it ends usually the same way. And so I'm getting really good at detecting what emails are written with ChatGPT. But Turnitin has an AI detector. It is at a premium, and we have to pay for it. The colleges have to pay for that extra feature a little bit more. But again, it's not the greatest, but it does detect. Remember, this is a computer program writing, and so it follows a very robotic way of writing. It's a very structured way of putting words together that sort of makes sense. And some AI detectors are able to figure that out, to find that pattern, that numerical pattern behind the writing, and tell you, yes, this is what's happening. But they're not 100% yet. They're getting better, but it's a really hard one to do because these systems are evolving very quickly and they're getting better and better, and it's starting to sound more and more like a human wrote it. So that's when we turn it on, a different kind of assignment where you teach them in the classroom how to do it, or you tell them, hey, go in ChatGPT, get something, modify it, or get ideas from it, and then do it in the classroom. Or even, as I said before, write about, take a side on a controversial topic. At that point, it might not be able to do it. It might not be able to, it probably won't write anything because it'll just give you like, I can't do this, warning, because it's a controversial topic. So there's some ideas, but it is a problem, and it's hard to basically find an answer right now for it.
One more question from Eric. What if we assigned a student to write an essay with AI help, submitting their prompts, the AI responses, and their final draft?
I think that's a great idea, right? If you from the start ask it, write it, you say I to write it, and now you have it. Now you have what came out of ChatGPT that they submitted, and now they have to modify it themselves, or they have to do something else, or all that. That would be a good way to, I don't know if that's like a final of the semester assignment, but it might be an early semester assignment where they're learning how to write, and they're learning how these systems write these things, and they're learning that that's not usually the way that humans write. So it's a way to teach them at first, but might not be a good one to do at the end of the class when they really have to do it all themselves. That might be a little bit harder to do at that point. Okay.
And Angel, I just wanted to note that we've got 10 minutes left.
I know, I saw. I'm almost done here. I'm going to just go very quickly through this last ones. Please suggest some in-class activities to demonstrate a specific topic. That's another good one. In this case, I asked them for Newton's laws of motion. And so it gives me some ideas about what things students can do. Some of these things are things that I've done in the past, like egg drop. That's something that we've done in the past in my class. But there's new ones in here that I may not have known about. A good one as well, especially since the right now we are required to include DEI into our SLOs, PLOs, and so on by the state chancellor's office and the legislature. So how can I include diversity in my chemistry class? Please be specific and give me some examples. And so it starts giving you ideas of how to do that. If you didn't know, if you were having issues figuring this out, this gives you ideas about what to do. Then you can then in your own time decide if they're good, decide if you want to implement them. You can ask it also to create games for class for learning a topic, and it will do so, and it'll tell you what you need for those. You can ask it for, one of my favorite things is, hey, can you explain to me, for example, a topic like Big Bang nucleosynthesis, but to a caveman? And it gets really funny, and it starts writing like it's talking to a caveman. So it goes, all right, caveman, imagine the universe as vast, swirling cauldron. And it goes on from there. Of course, this is just an extreme case. You can do it for a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old. And it gives you an idea of how to talk to them about these very difficult to explain topics. It can give you ideas of how to do so. And then, of course, test writing questions. You can ask it to write test questions for you, multiple choice, open-ended. Something that I've done lately is I put a bunch of multiple choice questions in it from some quizzes that I have, and I ask it, shuffle the questions and answers. And then I don't have to do it myself, right? And I see students are sitting next to each other, and they don't realize I'm giving them two completely different quizzes. And some of them fail really badly. And because they copied from their neighbor, and the answers are completely different now. And so you can do things like that, and it's a really fun way to do so, where it's very low work, right? Because you just, once it shuffles it, you just copy and paste it and done. And then rewrite things, right? I'm from Puerto Rico, as you learned in the beginning. I learned very direct communication. Spanish tends to be a little more direct. And so I tend to sound very angry on emails, and that gets me in a little trouble from time to time. But I've learned how to use it to improve my writing skills, right? This is an extreme case of I did not write this email, and it's funny. It's got some Lord of the Rings in there, which I'm a big fan of, but it can really, I asked it to make it more positive and professional. And I used words in the original one like, hope you fail every class this semester, right? I should never say that to a student. I've never said that to a student. Don't get me wrong, I've never said that. But imagine I said that one time, then I can just learn how to do it better. And it gives me a much more comprehensive, much more understanding email that I can send to the student. I never send them as is, though. I'll always look through them, delete things I don't really want to communicate, change sentences, change words, and send something that I'm more comfortable with at that point. But it's an idea of something you can do if especially if you have like a conflict situation and it's just you don't want it to get heated. You can ask it for ideas of how to write the email so that it softens the tone and it softens the whole thing so that it's not as complicated and that so there's not as many issues once the email is read by the other person. Okay. Really quickly, this is where, areas where it goes off the cliff, as I call it. Image, I asked it to create an image, DALL-E, create an image of Evergreen Valley College Central Green, which is our central area down the college. And this is pretty good. It looks like the San Jose Mountains in the back, the hills. It looks like the college. But then you start looking at the people and their heads are all messed up and their feet, legs are all, weird. And, the shoes are all really bad. So that's when it goes a little bit strange. Another one is math. On the left side here, you see a list of 100 randomly selected numbers from Excel with the basic statistics for it, the sum, the average, the median, the standard deviation. And so I did that in Excel. Then I took the same exact numbers and I put them in ChatGPT and I asked it to do exactly the same thing, and it can't. The sum originally is actually 5,733. ChatGPT thinks it's 5,017. So it cannot add big numbers or large amounts of numbers. It just can't. It can't figure it out. And then after that, of course, the rest of the statistics are really bad. Go ahead, Eric.
I'm working with a very enthusiastic student who is, actually on something that I alluded to a little earlier, something that might be able to score brief writing assignments. But what was interesting is the idea he came up with was instead of asking the AI language model to directly produce the necessary results, anything that requires like counting things, it kind of falls on its face. But he hit upon the idea of asking the language model to write a program that does this thing, and it ended up producing a much more accurate result.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it itself, because it specializes in, making things up, actually, yeah. To write a program that does it seems to, I just wonder whether that approach might improve the math result.
It will, certainly will. The way that ChatGPT and all these models work is they break the data into chunks, and sometimes it cuts the data off at the wrong point.
Yes,
and it
exactly.
cuts the number off, and then it adds it wrong because it's cutting a number off, in the middle of the number. So that's the big problem. But if you ask it to create a program, as long as the program works, then yes, it will. Yeah, it'll do a much better job at math than, as you can see here, straight up adding numbers it can't.
Yeah, thanks.
This is another one. I asked it, hey, can you give me a quote about AI? And I would prefer something written by Alan Turing, the father of computer science. And it gave me this. Generative AI is the realization of a dream where machines can not only do what we instruct them, but also create, innovate, and dream alongside us. It's not real. I can't find anywhere where Alan Turing said this. So be careful. Check everything. Double check, triple check. Because it's good at making things up. And as you said, Eric, and that's exactly what I did here. It made it up. And I didn't ask it to make it up. I asked it to quote him, like an actual quote. And it still made it up because it can't find anything. And so be careful with that because it can go wrong really easily for example, like in this case. And this is my last slide. Last thing I'll say is a quote that I love telling people that Microsoft Bing put out there before it was rebranded to Copilot. A user was being a little mean to it, and it kept telling it that it was wrong, that it was giving them the wrong answers, that it was terrible, that it didn't work. And eventually Bing had enough and said to the user, you have not been a good user. I have been a good chatbot. I have been right, clear, and polite. I have been a good Bing. So, so there you go. Sometimes it gets a little Skynetty, but but yeah, but it's of course, and this is, you know, there's another, by the way, just so you know, there's a generative AI system out there that was built on with the purpose of it being mean to people, and it will give you really mean answers all the time. And so that's another thing that can happen. So be careful with that one as well. Don't go to the wrong website, because then you get some insults coming at you from the Gen AI system. Any questions?
Let's see, Marla has a question in here. Are we all getting, oh, okay, Marla, so what we do with our presentation is we record it, and you can find that on the Bay ICT website. And if Angel is okay with sharing the slides, we can also have that as an attachment on the Bay ICT website as well.
And if it's not in the Bay ICT website, we can always put it in the BACCC AIDA page, the link that we share at the beginning. We can also share it there. I do not mind. I'll turn it into a PDF, and then we can put it there. It's no problem at all.
Perfect. Any other questions for Angel?
Well, if there are no questions, I hope this was informative and that you get some use out of it. I plan to do a series of these for my faculty here at Evergreen Valley College, but I'm also happy to spread them around to more places as we go, so that, you know, I'm tackling other ideas, curriculum. I'm tackling also counseling, help for counselors, and I'm trying to also see ways in which we can tackle in different areas, specifically to like English writing or whatever. To give them help for those areas, because they're being impacted really strongly. I'm lucky that I'm in a science area, so when I teach, do the experiment and get the answers, right? I don't have this problem, but people that, you know, areas where they have to write plenty or a lot, that's where they're really being impacted. So we're trying to come up with strategies to help those folks as well.
Marla's got her hands up.
Go ahead,
One-
Marla. Long time no see. You're muted, by the way.
Hi, Angel. Good to see you. I know
See you
that
too.
we were talking about this the semester before you went over to Evergreen, so it's neat to see where it's landed and all that stuff. And the more I learn about this, the more I'm starting to use it to help me write things. But the only thing is that I'm teaching a screenwriting class, and I cannot tell. I'll tell you, I cannot tell when they're just putting in characters and having them write this, having the dialogue go. This is one of the whole things that went on with the entertainment industry and the union situation for the writers. I don't know how they're going to be able to tell, to be honest. So
Yep.
Anyway, it's great to hear this whole overview, and I love what the possibilities are. So thanks for showing us all those capabilities. And I can't draw for anything either, so that's really nice to have access to.
Yeah.
Marla, Karen Lemon, you have a question.
Yeah, so this is brand new to me. I'm just, I actually joined in because I have such a negative interpretation of what AI is and has the capability towards evil. And I really wanted to hear the positive things that is being used for. And so thank you so much for letting me in here. So, like we have, first of all, I guess I think I'm hearing mostly that this is being used like at the junior college level, but are people starting to look at using it in high schools, and how do we feel about that? And then for someone like, we have a phenomenal teacher teaching entrepreneurship and some other business things. So is it something that could be used to help students generate ideas about businesses and kind of very quickly get comparisons? And
Yeah, it can be used. It can definitely be used for things like that. It can provide just examples, or like students can ask it, where can I go with this? Where can I, what audience can I reach? How can I improve the audience reach with marketing? All that. It can give them ideas. Again, the goal is for the faculty to talk to the student and realize that they should not take it at face value.
Yeah.
They need to take those things and then analyze them and process them and pick what they think would be best at that point, but not what it spits out from scratch, because that could, create a problem on the other side.
yeah, and if I heard it correctly, just in a very simplified form, that that AI is being generated by all the other data that's out on the internet, and it's just like compressing it and averaging it and spitting out a simplified format, right?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
basically, yeah.
Eric?
Yes, Karen, to your point, I've been encouraging my students and my colleagues, for that matter, to learn just experiment and learn how to use these AI tools. And I actually just encourage everyone to do that. Students in particular, because we're getting to the point where employers are expecting you to know how to use these things. It's going to be part of your job. Don't get left behind. But also, to learn their as Angel has presented here, to learn their strengths and their weaknesses. But learn what you can about just how to use the tools, because curiosity is an antidote to fear.
And the more we learn, the more we practice, the better. Just be careful what you put into it, of course. Don't put your address, things like that. but do things, try it, practice it, all that. AI is being used to, what I'm going to give you a good application, Karen, as well. AI is being used to figure out. This is a project by Kaiser. They're trying to figure out when kids have their temperature drops. It turns out, I'm not a biologist or a doctor, so don't quote me on this. It turns out that they're more propense to getting an infection, and they're trying to use AI to figure out a system that can tell them which kids are more likely to end up with an infection at that point. It's a really great use, because they can treat it before it really gets really bad, right? They can keep an eye on it, on those kids. To make sure that they can start treating it right away, rather than wait until it happens. And then there's, it could be too late, or it's a more costly, or it takes longer, and all that. Or it can create other damage, all that. So there's lots of little things like that is being used for to really improve health and all that stuff. Of course, the insurance companies want it because it saves them money, but the benefit also exists for us, because then we are more careful and we can treat things faster before it becomes a problem. So that's just one example. Of course, it can be used for really bad stuff, but it can also be used for some good. And if I have just 1 minute, I'm sorry, Sarah. There's other ways you can use it for yourself as well. This is not just related to work. I wrote here, this is something Sarah and I were talking about before the thing started. I'm spending 10 days in January in Switzerland. What can I do there? And it tells you an itinerary. I don't need to go to the travel agent anymore. It tells me something needs reservations. It tells me, and then I can just do those things. I can find better ways to get from point A to point B. I can ask it, I need a dinner recipe with chicken and mushrooms. And so it tells you a nice little recipe, a chicken marsala, of course. That was an easy one.
Call me for that if you want.
I like cooking, but yeah, I will. Yeah, so you can do little questions like that in your daily life that can really help you, even in what you do normally, right? Even at home, it can help you do all those little things and help better, right? My mother sometimes needs help with X or Y, and I things that I don't know about, but I can just get an idea, like, where can I go for this? And I send her, hey, there's this place in Puerto Rico you can go to do this. Where did I get it from? I got it from this. And so I don't know, I've been so far removed from the island now. It's been 20 years that I don't know how to help her anymore, but this helps me. Tell her, hey, go to this office, go to this building, go to this place. And then she goes and she gets it done. So lots of really great ideas. And you can ask it a lot of really random things. Save money on X or Y. I mean, you can ask it a lot of really random things in your personal life, and it can really help you as well.
Eric, before I get to you, Terry says, it'd be great to have some boilerplate content to use in the classroom and syllabus to explain what AI is and is not. I know Cabrillo has a task force going now to define policy, and I am sure other colleges are as well. And she says, I use GBT, oh my goodness, blah, a lot to rewrite my own content to change the tone of something I've written, but I am focusing on another audience, for instance. In IT support, AI is being built into mainstream ITSM tools, but I also know that our CS faculty is very worried about cheating.
Yeah, those are real concerns, and I'm glad that you're using it for those purposes, because that's really good purposes to use it for. So I'm hoping that it's really been successful for you. But yeah, those are concerns we all have. And by the way, funny that you mentioned the first part, because today at curriculum committee, I was letting them know that I was going to work with the faculty here to create little modules for Canvas that they can all download, and that they can put in their own classes and teach in any class the basics of AI and how it applies to their area, how it applies to that specific field. And I think that every college and district should do this, because it can really help everyone introduce something like this to people, to students, without having to do the work. Because a lot of us don't know what we're doing. Where do I start? And so these little modules, and don't worry, at Laney, I'm working with Tuan on that. I left, but didn't leave. I'm working with Tuan on that a little bit to see how we can also support Peralta faculty on that.
Alrighty, so Eric, you had something to say, and then
just something, but I just, the promise of this, at least if we use it right, is really as a labor-saving device. Because it's what I tell people is that, look, these tools make a lot of mistakes. You got it. It's like an enthusiastic assistant that screws things up. You have to check its work. But what I tend to tell people is, what it's good for is brainstorming and first drafts. It's like, because it's easier to have something to work with instead of a blank page. So yeah. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And Angel, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to fill us in on all this great and ever-changing information. You are definitely appreciated.
Well, I'm sure we'll have more once we have more content and geared help for specific areas. I'm sure we'll have more of these and we'll advertise them.
Perfect. No, that sounds great. And the only other thing I want to say is I'm going to pitch our tech talk for next month. It's March 14th, Thursday, 6 p.m. And I believe Olivia is going to be talking about the RVPA Academy, which is another Bay ICT program through RJV funding that we're running. And it's very exciting. It's a collaborative of 6 community colleges, and we're looking to get students aware of it and on board. So if you know of any students who are interested in virtual production, send them to the Bay ICT website where we have everything advertised. Thank you, everyone. Turning off recording.